The HOA thought they could bully me into submission, that I'd just hand over my land because they built their dream neighborhood on it by mistake. For months, I watched them pave roads, pour concrete, and sell homes on property that wasn't legally theirs. Everyone said I should speak up, but I stayed quiet. I let them finish every last house, because I had one document, one piece of paper that would change everything in court. When I finally showed it, you could hear the silence across 96 homes. Would you have done the same? Before everything turned into a legal nightmare, my life was quiet, almost boring in the best possible way. I'd bought 20 acres of open land just outside a growing suburb, the kind of place where you could hear the wind more than the traffic, where sunsets stretched across the horizon like they belonged to you. Developers had been circling the area for years, buying up farmland, promising luxury communities, and family-friendly neighborhoods. I didn't mind. My property sat on the edge of it all, fenced, surveyed, and legally mine. Every inch of it. Then came the HOA, a brand new association for a new housing project next door. Their glossy brochures showed green lawns, tennis courts, and smiling families, all backed by a view that looked suspiciously familiar. My land. At first, I thought it was just an oversight, maybe a camera angle. But when construction trucks started rolling past my fence, I noticed something off. The boundary markers, the same ones I'd paid to have professionally placed, were gone. Week after week, they pushed closer. Roads appeared where my grass used to grow. Concrete foundations spread like a slow infection. Neighbors started moving in, laughing, decorating, planting trees, completely unaware they were standing on someone else's property. By the time I called a meeting with the HOA board, the damage was done. And that's when I realized they didn't think it was a mistake at all. The first letter came on a Tuesday morning, tucked neatly into my mailbox, printed on thick paper with the HOA's shiny gold logo at the top. It said, my property modifications were in violation of community standards. Property modifications. I didn't even live in their community. My land was fenced, private, and legally separate. Still, they fined me $200 for unauthorized grading and landscaping. The landscaping they'd done while bulldozing my fence line. I thought it was a mix-up. I called the number on the letter expecting a quick correction. But the woman on the other end sounded rehearsed, like she'd said the same thing 100 times before. Sir, she told me, your parcel falls under the HOA's jurisdiction now. All future concerns must go through the board. My heart sank. Their jurisdiction? How could they claim that? Over the next few weeks, the letters kept coming, each one colder than the last. The fines doubled, then tripled. They accused me of failure to maintain the community's appearance, of refusing inspection access, even of impeding public infrastructure. They acted like I was the intruder, the one trespassing on my own land. I tried to reason with them. I showed documents, survey maps, county plat records, proof that my deeds stretched beyond their development line. But the board refused to meet me. Every email bounced between departments. Every phone call ended with, "Take it up with our legal team." Then came the real insult. I drove out one afternoon and found workers installing streetlights on my property. They'd paved half an access road and spray-painted lot numbers across my field. Numbered stakes lined the dirt, marking out home sites for families who hadn't even signed contracts yet. When I confronted the foreman, he barely looked up from his clipboard. "Talk to the HOA," he said. "They're the client." That's when I realized this wasn't confusion. It was entitlement. They genuinely believed they owned my land. I started recording everything: photos, dates, letters, conversations. I even hired a drone to capture aerial footage of the construction spreading over my property line. The HOA didn't like that. A week later, I received a notice of trespassing on my land. They claimed I was interfering with community development, that if I entered their property again, I'd face civil penalties. I showed that letter to my lawyer, who just shook his head. "This is going to get ugly," he said, and he was right. Within a month, 96 homes were under construction. Families had already put down deposits. Some were moving in, hanging wreaths on doors that technically stood on my soil. The HOA doubled down, calling me uncooperative. They told the community I was trying to extort them for money. Rumors spread. One neighbor even told me to stop being greedy and sell. But what they didn't know was that I'd already been preparing something much bigger than a protest. Every letter they sent, every drone photo, every deed record, all of it was building toward one moment. Because while they were busy pouring foundations, I was working with the county assessor and my attorney to pull every public record that proved the HOA had built nearly half their subdivision outside of their legally purchased boundaries. The kind of mistake that doesn't just cost fines, it cost millions. Still, I stayed silent. I let the concrete dry, the fences go up, the families move in. Because when it was time to act, I wanted there to be no escape route, no miscommunication, and no way to deny what they'd done. They thought they'd buried me in paperwork, but I was about to bury them in proof. The courtroom was packed that morning. HOA board members filled the front rows, whispering to their lawyers with that same smug confidence I'd seen all year. They believed this was a formality, that the uncooperative landowner would finally be forced to surrender. But what they didn't realize was that today, their story ended. My attorney stood calm and deliberate. He placed a single binder on the table, thick with records, drone photos, and deeds stamped by the county clerk. The judge flipped through the pages, his brow tightening. Then my lawyer said the words that froze the entire room. Your Honor, the HOA's development was built on property my client never sold. Nearly 48% of their subdivision lies entirely on his deeded land. The silence that followed was suffocating. The HOA president tried to object, waving her hands, insisting it was a survey error. But the judge wasn't buying it. He asked one question. Did your board verify the land titles before construction? No one answered. One by one, the evidence hit like hammer blows. Satellite imagery, official boundary maps, dated emails showing they'd been warned months earlier and ignored it. The judge leaned back, eyes sharp. So, he said slowly, you built 96 homes on someone else's property. I'll never forget the look on their faces. The color drained, the confidence gone. Their lawyers scrambled for explanations that didn't exist. The judge ruled immediately. Injunction granted. Construction halted. Title investigation ordered. Damages pending. The HOA had to stop selling homes, freeze community operations, and face millions in potential restitution. As the gavel struck, the room erupted. Murmurs, disbelief, quiet gasps. I just sat there, watching them finally understand what they'd done. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't fought their threats. I just let them dig their own grave, one foundation at a time. And in that moment, justice didn't feel loud. It felt silent. The kind of silence that makes everyone finally realize the fight was never about power. It was about ownership. In the months that followed, the neighborhood changed. Fast. Construction stopped. Half-finished homes sat empty, their driveways leading nowhere. The glossy banners that once read, "Welcome to Meadow Ridge Estates," were quietly taken down. The county stepped in, confirming what the court already knew. Nearly half the development was illegally built. Families who had just moved in were suddenly told their homes might not even sit on legally owned land. Lawsuits piled up. The HOA board resigned one by one, each trying to distance themselves from the disaster they'd created. As for me, I didn't demand revenge. I demanded accountability. The court ordered a full buyout of the land, at my price, not theirs. Every square foot they stole had to be paid for, plus damages. But honestly, the money wasn't the victory. It was the silence that followed. No more letters, no more threats, no more violations. Just peace. The same peace I had before they ever tried to take it away. Standing on that land now, watching the sun dip behind those empty streets, I realized something simple but powerful. Sometimes you don't need to fight fire with fire. You just need to let arrogance burn itself out. Because power built on greed doesn't last, but ownership backed by truth always does. So when someone tells you to pick your battles, remember, some battles pick you. And when they do, make sure you finish them quietly and completely.